In today's macro photography tutorial, we're using the brand new Control Pod Mini to shoot Conkers, the seeds of the horse chestnut tree. These are going to be a really interesting macro subject, so stick around and I'll see you in just a sec. Hi guys, I'm Ben from Adaptalux and welcome back to another macro photography tutorial where today we are shooting Conkers, the seeds of the horse chestnut tree, traditionally used for the playground game where you knock them together. I think it's mostly banned these days, but this should still make for a really interesting macro subject with this green spiky shell on the outside and of course the conker, the seed, on the inside. Those of you that watch our tutorials regularly will be very familiar with the Adaptalux Studio and the Control Pod 3. This is the Control Pod with its rotary dial and 5 ports up front into which you can plug various lighting arms for lighting up your macro subjects. What you won't be familiar with though is the Pod Mini. This is our brand new miniature control pod, so you can straight away see that there's a big size difference. There's also a very big weight difference. This thing is very, very light, despite the fact that it still has a battery. Now it's only got one port at the front, but that means you can still plug in a single lighting arm and you can still control the brightness of that lighting arm using the buttons very simply on the top of the pod. It's still got boost mode so that you can increase your brightness when you need it, and it's also got a GoPro style mounting adapter at the rear, so you can actually attach this to all sorts of crazy contraptions. So here's an example of a pretty ridiculous setup, which I'm not entirely sure is practical, but it does demonstrate that you can do some really interesting mounting things with these new Pod Minis. I've got this mounted to a GoPro adapter with a single flexible lighting arm in here, so the light source is at the end here, and then I've got this whole setup here in order to support it as I move my camera around. Now of course this is only one with multiple attach points on your camera, like with my small rig here. You could set up several of these and have light coming in from underneath, from the sides. The world really is your oyster when you have this much flexibility, and it does show that they are very lightweight. You wouldn't be able to do something like this with the larger control pod, which is traditionally mounted on the top of the camera or used separately. And of course you can use these separately as well, which is what I'm going to be doing for my Conkers today. I'm going to place this down on a little tripod and maybe bring in a second one as well. The joy of the Pod Mini is in its flexibility. So we've always had the ability to have flexible lighting arms that come from multiple directions, but now we also have the ability to bring those lighting arms in from completely different sides of a subject. So I've got one Pod Mini just laying down here on the table surface, lighting one side of my Conker, and then I've got this lighting arm coming in from the top, pointing down, lighting that seed on the inside. Now both of these are going to need some snap-on diffusers, so I'm going to place these around and see if I can get a nice shot of this conker emerging from the inside of its shell. The shells of these conkers are really fun to shoot. The green spiky outsides provide a lot of texture and a lot of strange detail, looking like alien plants or alien worlds, but the insides are another matter. The light, as you shine it around the conker, you'll see is actually reflecting back. So not only do we have a really dark subject in there, we've got the contrast with the outer shell, and we've got reflections. This makes placing our light even more critical. So we need to move our light around and find where those reflections are going to be the most pleasant, and where our lighting needs to be balanced to find the correct exposure for the entire subject. It's not so difficult when you're just shooting the conker on the inside because the whole thing is pretty dark, but when you're trying to mix like I am with the conker emerging from these shells, you can get quite a lot of nasty highlights, you can get a lot of reflections, and then the conker on the inside doesn't have a lot of detail because it's absorbing all of the light. Placing the light is really important. So I'm going to fiddle around with my Pod Mini setup, moving my lights around even more, and see if I can't get some really cool shots of these conkers emerging from their shells. So I just mentioned that these conkers are starting to look to me a little bit like alien worlds, and that's given me the idea that I want to introduce a little bit of artificial colored light into these shots. I want to see if I can't make some colored light emerge from these fissures in the outside of the conker shell, and maybe bring some red light in to look like an alien crevasse or something like that. Now, it is going to take a lot of playing around, moving my lighting around, moving my minis around to try and place that light exactly where I need it to be for that specific look, with the red maybe emerging like a sunset from the other side of an alien planet. But in the grand scheme of things, it's really easy because these lights are so easy to place around the subject that it's only taking a few moments each time to find my next shot. Now, it's probably worth mentioning that most of what we're doing today with the conkers could actually be achieved just fine with the regular Control Pod 3. You've got 5 ports in here, so you can load them up with lighting arms, and because of the flexible nature of the arms, you can actually find a lot of space for small subjects in between all of your arms and bring in multi-directional, multicolored lighting. The Mini, though, brings another dimension to all of this when you can move one of those lighting arms away to a completely different side of your subject, especially if your subject is a little bit larger and you want to backlight an image. You can bring just one Mini around the side, or you can just use a bunch of Minis together to bring your lighting arms in from all different directions. The conkers are a really fun and interesting subject. I was expecting them to be quite easy to shoot, but they're actually a little bit of a challenge with that darker interior on the seed, and then the lighter skin and shell with all of those spikes as well, which are very fun. However, I do think that you need a little bit of extra colored lighting maybe, and definitely the versatility of something like the new Control Pod Mini or just the Adaptalux Studio in general. Now, if you've got an Adaptalux Studio and you want a Mini, or whether you're just starting out with macro lighting in general, these are now available to back on Kickstarter. All you need to do is head down to the link in the description and pledge your support, and you can get a little Control Pod Mini and some lighting arms to really enhance your own photos. I'd like to know what you guys think to my conkers today. Should I have baked them first? Are the big ones going to be stronger than the smaller ones? What kind of string should I use, and who should I go up against next? I'd like to know what you think to my photos down in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like, and of course subscribe for more macro photography ideas, inspiration and tutorials coming in the future. For now, that is all that I've got time for. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.